Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Erik Voss, and the plan for Dr. Doom and Avengers Doomsday is finally taking shape as Robert Downey Jr. has broken his silence about the timeline of his casting and his and the studio's vision for Victor Von Doom in this film. In the days after Comic-Con, I broke down what I thought could be the true reason Marvel Studios cast Robert Downey Jr., the former face of the MCU, as Tony Stark, as now its iconic villain. And since then, scoopers like Daniel RPK have confirmed my speculation that Robert Downey Jr.'s Dr. Doom will come from the same universe as the Fantastic Four in First Steps. But now, Downey has begun to speak on his take on Dr. Doom on the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast, and I'm going to break down everything we have learned. And I am wearing our new Mask Same Task shirt, available at nerdriot.shop. I love this shirt. I'm going to be wearing it all the time until I understand what the hell New Mask Same Task means. Okay, on July 27th, Robert Downey Jr. unmasked himself on stage at Hall H as the Russo brothers announced their plans for the fifth Avengers film, Avengers Doomsday, saying only 4 words at the time.
New mask. Same task.
New mask, same task. A phrase echoed by Anthony Russo and used as a caption for Robert Downey Jr.'s Instagram post showing himself in the car before walking out on stage in costume holding the Doom mask. A few days after that, Variety did some great work reporting that the Russo brothers were being paid 80 million big ones for the next 2 Avengers films, and that Robert Downey Jr. was being paid, quote, significantly more. So, 100 million for 2 films? Maybe 2.5 films. Now that it seems like Robert Downey Jr. will have at least a cameo in Fantastic Four First Steps as the Doom of that alternate universe. This tells us that Robert Downey Jr. is not just some stunt casting. The studio considers his face and his acting ability to be essential to the story that they are telling. On the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast this week, Robert Downey Jr. was asked about his upcoming projects, including Dr. Doom and the remaking of Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, and he opened up about the timeline of his casting as Victor Von Doom.
So, probably a year ago, because, Feige and I have kept in touch. We're pals.
Mm-hmm.
Favreau and Feige and I have kept in touch. I'm close with the Russo brothers. We have other business we're doing. So there's this little kind of group of fellow travelers. And I had this instinct that I wanted to go to Bob Iger, and I had an idea outside of the cinematic universe for how I could be of service to what's going on in the parks and all their location-based entertainment.
Let's pause here. 1 year ago was actually a crucial nexus point for Marvel Studios. Variety reported in the past year that Marvel Studios hosted a December 2023 retreat in Palm Springs where they discussed what to do about Jonathan Majors, and reportedly this was when the decision was made to pivot to Dr. Doom for Avengers 5. This Variety article, we should note, was written by Tatiana Siegel, who also wrote the recent report about the Russo brothers' $80 million contract, so presumably she has a solid source. December 2023 was at the height of Marvel Studios' concern for the future. They were weeks away from a solid second season of Loki, but a season that centered around Jonathan Majors' performance as Kang variants Victor Timely, and He Remains. The Marvels was weeks away as well, and they reportedly had concerns about how it would perform. Concerns that ended up being right, unfortunately. The studio was bruised from the performance of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and the reception of Secret Invasion. Their one success of the year at that point, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, was directed by James Gunn, who had since moved over to DC and was now putting all of his creative forces into a different studio's projects. So Marvel ended up making a pair of pretty odd Disney Plus release schedule decisions. What If Season 2 to drop daily during the Christmas 2023 holiday, and Echoes episodes dumped all at once early in January 2024. But the bigger decision we now know was to fork over a ton of money to Robert Downey Jr. and to the Russo brothers to come back to the MCU for Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, with Downey's Dr. Doom as the new big bad. Back in September 2023, Downey was getting rave reviews for his performance as Louis Strauss in Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer. He proved with that role that he could create a villainous character with gravitas and hardly any trace of Tony Stark. So Downey really brought this up in the context of some idea that he had for Disney Parks and Bob Iger, which I find to be pretty peculiar, and Downey actually comes back to that later in this interview. But first, he gave more details about his role as Dr. Doom.
Susan and I were sitting down with Feige at one point, and he said it just keeps occurring to me that if you were to come back, and Susan was like, wait, come back as what? And I was like, and then we both realized over time that it was another thing that just disproves any doubt anyone could ever have about that guy. A very sophisticated, creative thinker about how can we not go backwards? How can we not disappoint expectations? How can we continue to beat expectations? And he brought up Victor Von Doom, and I looked into it as character, and I was like, wow. And I go, and later on, he goes, let's get Victor Von Doom right. Let's get that right.
Interesting. He said, how can we not go backwards? How can we not disappoint expectations? How can we continue to beat expectations? And let's get Victor Von Doom right. This confirms that Robert Downey Jr. will not be playing a Tony Stark variant who goes by the moniker of Dr. Doom. He will be playing a new character who starts as Victor Von Doom with a Latvian origin. In my past video where I tried to explain what was happening here, I laid out 4 different paths that Marvel could be following by casting Downey as Dr. Doom. Path 1, Robert Downey Jr. is playing a different character, a Victor Von Doom completely unrelated to Tony Stark. Path 2, Marvel is following the What If Demon in an Armor comic storyline in which Victor Von Doom and Tony Stark swap minds and we get a hypothetical scenario where Tony Stark becomes Dr. Doom. Path 3, Robert Downey Jr. plays the anchor being of every universe, and it will be Downey's face as important characters from each universe. Downey as Victor Von Doom, Downey as Doctor Strange, Downey as a Norman Osborn, Downey as the superior Iron Man. And Path 4, Robert Downey Jr. plays someone born as Anthony Stark but raised as Victor Von Doom in the shadow of Reed Richards, following Stark's philosophy to a villainous extreme. Now, with this podcast, the first of these plans I think might be the most plausible, despite how difficult it's going to be for many Marvel fans to accept the former face of the MCU recast in a new role. We've partnered with Geology to bring you the best skincare products we've ever used, and to bring us the best skincare products we've ever used. It's a win-win for your skin and our skin. Geology's products use just a handful of powerful, proven ingredients that have been trusted by dermatologists for decades, which is probably why Geology is a 32-time award-winning skin, hair, and body care company recognized in Men's Health, Oprah Daily, Hypebeast, Birdie, Esquire, and GQ. Geology can help you fight acne, reduce oilness, prevent wrinkles, combat dark or puffy under eyes, have smoother, hydrated skin, and target signs of aging. And if you don't know where to start, Geology can create a simple and effective skincare or hair care routine for you. All you gotta do is take a quick 30-second quiz. And right now, Geology is giving our audience a $50 1-month skincare sample set for free. All you gotta do is pay for shipping. And if you decide to add anything on, you'll get 50% off that add-on. So what are you waiting for? Use code NewRockstars100 and grab 100% off your personalized skincare trial set, plus an additional 50% off on add-ons. Just click the link in the description or go to geolog.ie/rockstars100 to get started. Marvel being able to pull this off is going to depend on Downey playing Victor Von Doom with a completely different energy that makes him nearly unrecognizable, but a performance just as captivating as his performance of Tony Stark was. Now, this is not the first time we've been here, folks. When Heath Ledger was announced as the new Joker, fans griped that the handsome Australian actor from Brokeback Mountain, A Knight's Tale, and 10 Things I Hate About You did not make any sense as the Joker, and how wrong those people were. Despite how visible and talked about the filmmaking industry is, a vast majority of the public still does not understand the creative process of acting. They don't understand the work that goes into acting, and they think that all actors are just beautiful people playing thinly veiled versions of themselves. In fairness, that is the case for some actors. But most actors view their jobs as transformation, to lose themselves in their characters, to bring their own personal truth to a role, but using that role as a mask, and to physically warp their appearance and their voice and their mannerisms to bring that truth to life. But the challenge with that is viewers saw Tony Stark as a reflection of the person Robert Downey Jr. actually is. A person that they don't know, but a person they think they know based off of media coverage. I think we can admit that the success of the character in 2008 was largely based on the public perception of Robert Downey Jr. as a convicted substance abuser in the previous decade, turned redemptive artist, grateful to be given a second shot, with a true passion for his work. Now, with Oppenheimer, Downey reminded Hollywood that he can portray nuanced, layered, idiosyncratic human beings who don't wear super tech armor. Now, the Tony Stark to Lewis Strauss transition was not, say, Gary Oldman toggling between Jim Gordon in Christopher Nolan's Batman films and Sirius Black in the Harry Potter films, but I think while watching Oppenheimer, many of us did forget that this was Iron Man in a past life. It certainly helped that Christopher Nolan shot most of Strauss's scenes in black and white. I think Christopher Nolan really knew what he was doing with that film. Really, I think we should say the role of Victor Von Doom is going to come down to Stephen McFeely writing a character so different from Tony Stark, and Downey finding a way into that character that he can make it different enough with his voice, his mannerisms, his physicality, ideally to transform himself so fully that he's already a different guy before any things like prosthetics or costume effects like a mask are added on top of that. Now, the phrase new mask, same task remains confusing. New mask, same task makes it sound like Robert Downey Jr. is not aiming for a completely different character, but rather one that echoes and parallels what we've seen before. Does same task refer to the same general roadmap of the multiverse saga that we're still getting time runs out on the way to Secret Wars? Just instead of Kang, we're getting God Emperor Doom, as was always the case in the comics? I would settle for that being the case, but the first part of the phrase, new mask, really qualifies the same task. They're part of the same phrase. The implication of the whole phrase is the face you know as Tony Stark has a new mask, but the task of this new character will be the same mission and same philosophy that you always knew this face to have. The task of the phrase doesn't sound like it's Marvel's task or Kang's task, but rather Tony Stark's task. That's why in the last video I presented the possibility that this could be an alternate Anthony Stark in another universe who, at a young age, is separated from the Stark family and is raised as Victor Von Doom from Latveria. That way he could grow up with the same tasks that's genetically coded into his brain of a paranoid futurist mindset of putting a suit of armor around the world, and that task could put him on a collision course with Pedro Pascal's Reed Richards as the Fantastic Four is insistent on opening up the planet to potential cosmic threats. Assuming Downey would be playing a short-lived Victor Von Doom just for these 3 films of the multiverse saga, set to expire at the end of it in Secret Wars, that would make sense to me. But new mask, same task, and let's get Victor Von Doom right sound completely contradictory. Let's get Victor Von Doom right sounds like they want this version of Dr. Doom to fix what was wrong about the versions of Doom we saw played by Julian McMahon in the Tim Story Fantastic Four movies of the aughts, or the version played by Toby Kebbell in the 2015 Josh Trank Fantastic Four. Let's get Victor Von Doom right suggest a classic Latverian origin, a classic rivalry with Reed Richards, a classic villain with Machiavellian ethics, and an endless pursuit of science and magic. Not this hypothetical I described of like a Moses Anthony Stark who ends up in Latveria. Now, I trust that Downey can pull anything off in a way that makes us forget, at least for a few hours at a time, his past role as Tony Stark. What's going to be harder for me to grasp is how the people who knew Tony Stark in the MCU are going to react when they see the face of Dr. Doom in Doomsday and in Secret Wars and are like, wait, you look exactly like the guy we used to know. Like, what's gonna happen when Peter Parker meets Dr. Doom? Actually, could that connection be the secret to this whole confusing meta paradox? Like, could Dr. Doom from this alternate universe be the only person who, through some mysterious cosmic connection, know that Spider-Man is Peter Parker, and perhaps being cursed with that knowledge in that one particular way could end up being the key to defeating Dr. Doom in Secret Wars? Robert Downey Jr. closed out this part of the interview on the Hollywood Reporter's Awards Chatter podcast by detailing some weird trip to Disney's Imagineering campus with Kevin Feige and Bob Iger.
So then I said to Kevin, can I go talk to Bob Iger? He goes, about? I go, about everything. And I gone to Bob's house, which I don't know how to describe that experience. I've had a lot of really cool experiences. We go to Iger's pad and we sit down and I start saying, I just really want to be, he goes, I like it. I was like, he likes it. He goes, come by the Imagineering campus. Feige and I go to the Imagineering campus. And you want to talk about 2 guys that are not easy to have their minds blown, let alone at the same time. This is, I can't say too much about, but what is going on there right now, so beyond my expectation of what was possible, that no wonder it was numinous to me. And it's also the only way that I felt like I can give a certain entertainment-seeking audience something that they may have a hankering to have an experience of in a way where I can continue to develop my interest in the future of entertainment and where the hell else should you go but there. So it's this crazy, weird thing that's going on. And if that all goes to shit, we'll just remake what many people say is the greatest film of all time.
Now, some context here. By greatest film of all time, Downey was not referring to Avengers Endgame. He was referring to Alfred Hitchcock's Vertigo, a movie that he's reportedly remaking and a project he was asked about at the start of this line of questioning. But I want to know from you, what the hell do you think Downey was talking about with that? What Disney Imagineering creation was so mind-blowing to him and to Kevin Feige that it convinced Downey to return as Dr. Doom? And was it just a pile of cash amounting to like $100 million? Comment down below with your thoughts on all this. Follow me at EA Voss. Subscribe to all 3 channels in the New Rockstars network for breakdowns and news coverage of everything you love. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.